Namaste and welcome to another episode of Tech Storytelling. This Tech Storytelling is for the business leader, that is for you and by the business leader. And today I have an amazing guest with me, Mr. Saurabh Dwivedy. Saurabh, namaste and welcome to this Tech Storytelling.
Namaste, Madan.
So, audiences, Saurabh is the Chief Product Officer with Antwalk and he is an ex-McKinsey. So, Saurabh, before we get started, can you tell us about a bit about you and your overall trajectory, career journey?
Yeah, thank you, Madan. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me to your show. And it's a privilege and a great opportunity
Yeah,
to
likewise,
share
Saurabh, we learn from you.
my experiences with you. So, as you mentioned, my name is Saurabh Dwivedy. I'm currently advising startup companies, and in particular, I am associated with this group called Antwalk. It's a networking platform that we are networking and education platform that we are trying to set up. Prior to Antwalk, I have been associated with McKinsey for about 4 years, and I was leading the data engineering service line for McKinsey, serving clients mostly in retail and pharmaceuticals, and also in public sector. Um, I also have a lot of experience in the public sector domain. Again, in the context of smart city operations and smart city creation. Uh, for instance, I have worked with Pune Smart City, and also prior to McKinsey, I have government experience of working with the government of Gujarat when I was working with GNFC's IT division, Encode Solutions. Uh, Basically, a data engineer by training. I have always been associated with data analytics and data in general over the past 20 odd years of my career. Started as a software engineer with Patni Computers way back in 1998, and my career was basically anchored in mainframe computing at that point of time. So those were the building blocks, for me when I started my
Yeah,
career. I am a graduate from IIT Roorkee, electrical engineering, and I did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. And I basically born and brought up in Allahabad.
all right, great. Great to see that. I mean, your education from IIT Roorkee, graduated, you did your MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. So that is great. So out of curiosity, I mean, what I have seen since almost your career, you are there into data engineering and data analytics is one of your passion. Nowadays, I can see you are doing a lot of great work into the product management. So out of curiosity, uh, how are you marrying the data engineering and product management together? What are those elements?
Yeah, very good question. So Madan, the way it works is there is a connectivity. There's a connection between these two sort of bodies of knowledge, if you want to call it that way. Product
Mhm.
management, data engineering is a means to an end, just like IT is a means to an end. Product management is also a set of codified principles to ensure that whatever product we are building or whatever product we are envisioning is brought to the market to fulfill the needs of the target segment for which it is designed and envisioned, and in doing so to minimize the pitfalls and the unknowns and the risks that are posed. So earlier, product management has of late gained a lot of traction, uh, in no small part because of the growing startup environment that we are in nowadays. So most of the startup companies have lay a lot of emphasis on this art and science of, I'm calling it art and science deliberately, art and science of product management, because it is a multifaceted function. Now, for me, as somebody who has been in the industry for a long time, has seen several products being built and many of them becoming successful, some of them failing. uh, there was a very organic pull for a person like me to participate in this endeavor of building products. And as a data engineer and somebody who understands the data landscape, where I have tried to sort of stick to is in building products that have a very strong connection with the data ecosystem. So that is where that's a natural sort of playground for me. I don't do a lot of what do you call front end based development, or UX and UI kind of things. Those things I don't get into too much. I my role is mainly focused on building the building blocks which relate to the data, as far as data and analytics, which will become part of the overall product that is being designed. So that's how I kind of got pulled into this product management space.
Yeah, that's great. Great to hear that. So I can see a lot of, I mean, heavily focused on data engineering, data analytics, and I see you inspire the community by sharing a lot of articles. And you keep adding almost every day on LinkedIn. You keep imparting the knowledge. So my question, I mean, you're based on your experience, that how do you see data engineering and analytics as a career choice for the others into the community? And how to get started? I mean, how to pivot as a career option into this space, sort of.
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. Many people have reached out to me on this, and especially young people. But it's not just people who are starting out or in the middle of their career. I have seen experienced folks also. A lot of my colleagues and batchmates who want to partake of the
Mhm.
revolution that is happening in this space, right? And uh, in fact, yesterday somebody was mentioning that is data the new oil? On LinkedIn, there was some discussion happening, and I participated in that discussion with my views on how data is invigorating companies and becoming a competitive advantage. You might remember Michael Porter's theory about competitive advantage. Michael Porter is a renowned professor of strategy in Harvard Business School, and he has written or authored several books. So he has spoken about competitive advantage, and companies that succeed in their operations. They play on strong competitive advantage that they bring to the table, and that's how they succeed. Look at Pepsi, Coke, all these successful companies. They build the kernel of their business is based on a non-differentiated understanding of the business model that they adopt and implement. So now, traditional business models, that used to work till, let's say, early 2000s, even up to early 2000s. In the last 20 years, the business
Yeah.
world has been disrupted, and I think the disruption of the business world has followed a trajectory, if you will, the way I see it at least. It has followed the trajectory of the advance of computing, advance of computer science in general, and also the advances that were made in the hardware space, right? So now the
Mhm.
processors, are much more powerful. You
Yeah.
have much more powerful phones than there used to be PCs some 25, 30 years ago, or 35 years ago. So with so much computing power, it has become imperative that there will be commensurate advance of where is computing power used in. Computing power is used in crunching numbers, in analytics, in
Yeah.
performing analytical operations, right? So it's a very natural symbiosis. It's a very natural harmony that these two things create. And look at how the software industry has evolved, right? So when Google came with its paper on, when they indexed the internet, the world's catalog of information, right? That was the beginning of how this whole ecosystem started getting disrupted, right? So it was no
Yeah.
longer, monolithic systems. It was no longer big data centers. This all became so distributed in nature. It all became so accessible in nature to people. that it spurred a lot of innovation. So now coming back to the question of what we can do, what people should do. Sorry, how is data engineering or data, the space of data as a career choice? It is a choice which will soon become, for technology professionals, it'll not be a choice anymore, because data is going to rule. In the foreseeable future, data is going to have a very, very important role to play
Okay.
in business models. Whatever business models come, you look at any product today, they are all leveraging data in some sort or the other,
Oh,
whether it
yeah.
is
Oh, yeah.
TikTok, whether it is any of the apps that you think about. ByteDance as a company, you've seen the evolution of these companies. They are all
Oh, yeah.
mining data, they are all harnessing data. So data and data related knowledge will become
Okay.
very, very primary going
Okay.
forward.
So are you suggesting the people who are into their traditional job and traditional skill set, I mean, that is the one way of sustaining into the market, but they need to look forward and reinvent, or maybe they need to modernize their skill set to sustain into the industry? This is what,
Reskilling, as it is called. And if you will
all
look
right.
at it, government of India is also putting in a lot of emphasis on skill development, right? So
Yeah.
part of skill development is reskilling. The workforce needs to be trained on modern, computing architectures. And not everybody will be a programmer. Not everybody will be a
Yeah.
developer. And neither is it desirable. There is a lot of opportunities for non-technical people
Oh, yeah.
to gain understanding of the evolution of technology,
Mm-hmm.
and bring in their time-tested expertise of change management, bringing their time-tested expertise of project management. Because trust me, Madan, most of the projects that fail, the technology projects that fail, and I was reading a report that almost $900 billion of digital
Yeah.
transformation, worth of digital transformation projects, the money is wasted.
Yeah.
Almost $1.3 trillion worth was invested across the world in digital transformation projects, and about 900 billion of it was wasted. Now these things happen not so much because of technology problems. They happen because
Yeah.
it's a human issue, basically. How do you
Yeah.
manage people at scale? How do you manage, and especially now in the times that we live in, because of the corona, and because of the pandemic, the whole world has gone through a very big
Yeah.
shuffle, a shake of gigantic proportions. So these things are going to change the way, and it'll require more and more people who have
Yeah.
understanding of human psyche, human behavior, and bringing them all together, and of course an understanding of technology. So I'm not saying that technology becomes secondary, but I'm saying that if you can create a harmony between technical understanding of the technical ecosystem,
Yeah.
and bring in your time tested knowledge of project management, program management, people management, change management, negotiation skills, uh,
Oh, yeah.
those things combined can create a very, very strong career trajectory, even for people who are looking to pivot into this area.
Oh, yeah. This is great. So little bit I'm switching the gears, Saurabh. I mean, I know you are the trusted advisor and thought leader to CXOs, and you have done a lot of consulting in Asia, internationally on data-enabled digital transformation. So tell us something about data-enabled digital transformation and why the leadership, especially the CXO, must care about data-driven transformation.
Very good. Hmm. Yeah. So, Madan, that's a good question. And, in terms of, so let's look at what is digital transformation in general, right? And
Mhm.
then maybe drill down to data-driven transformation. Now, first of all, what we need to understand is what is a transformation. So
Mhm.
now, as many people understand, right, and this has been spoken enough of, I think, that it is not just digitizing your business that falls under the remit of digital transformation. It's more of a organizational DNA change that we are looking at, the way the organization thinks, the way the organization operates, and therefore it has a very strong connection to the entire business model on which the organization is built on. Okay, there is a nuance of business model, there is a nuance of strategy, there is a nuance of business tactics, and these are different things. People again, many times people conflate these things, but these are different things. If you look at business model, for example, or business model is the kernel of operation, how the business actually operates, right? Whether we are selling to, let's say, low income group people, or whether we
Yeah.
are targeting the niche end of the market. These are uh, choices, governed by your strategy, and strategy ultimately translates into a business model which the business executes. Now, digital transformation is again leveraging the set of technologies that are available in the ecosystem to create competitive advantage. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you create competitive advantage, I've worked with McKinsey, and one of the prime mantras that we have seen play out again and again is that organizations cannot take a piecemeal approach to digital transformation. They
Mm.
have to go all in, quote unquote, as it is called, right? So it's not like a half-hearted effort that will succeed, that will help organizations succeed in this. So there is a very clear, well-defined, articulated roadmap that needs to be established. A well-defined playbook of actions need to be put in place, and it has to be overall orchestrated as a as a program managed, project managed effort. There are nuances of program management, and there are nuances of project management,
Yeah.
and there are nuances of product management also, which come into play when you are embarking on a digital
Yeah.
transformation. Now think about data enabled transformation. Now, data enabled transformation is basically where data plays a very critical role in the entire transformation exercise. Think about recommendation engines, for example. Here,
Yeah.
when Amazon recommends you, if you buy a product and Amazon is recommending people who have brought similar products, they are using, in turn, they are using a matching algorithm and in the back end, and they are taking a guess that if you are a user who has a profile, certain kind of profile, then they're taking a bet that you will like
Oh, yeah.
these kinds of products. Netflix's recommendation engine, Netflix is able to tell you that what is the likelihood of your liking a particular program based on your viewing history. Now,
Yeah.
these are all, you can call them transformation. I mean, for Netflix, for example, it will not be a transformation because they are a digital first, they are a digital native company. But organizations like, let's say, GE, organizations
Yeah.
like the big players who are not who've been in around for hundreds of years, they are having to re-energize and rethink the core of their business to leverage more and more of the technology to drive the digital transformation. So data enabled transformation in particular is basically where you are altering the core of your business and building the core of your business around the insights that you are able to process from data. That is the core of the data
Yeah.
enabled transformation. And therefore there is a lot of emphasis on data harvesting. There's a lot of
Mm.
emphasis on data, because all these factors, your how you are handling data in terms of your costs, in terms of your regulations, in terms of your companies have to think about what are the implications of data privacy and regulations. For example, GDPR, California Consumer Protection Act. All the companies are now trying to conform to the directives that are big, because the penalties are very steep if you err on one of these on the dictats of what these people
Yeah.
are
So
what
I
these
have a
organizations are asking you to do.
similar views on this one, very specific to the data security and the governance, since you are talking
Mm.
about Saurabh.
Yeah.
So would you like to share some good practices and the importance of having a data security and the governance based on your experience?
Yeah, yeah. These are all very huge topics, Madan, and I cannot lay enough emphasis that uh, these are the places where most of the times
Mhm.
organizations go wrong.
Okay.
It is not about creating a data lake on
Mhm.
cloud, or a distributed data warehouse which is able to propel your business intelligence of the organization.
Mhm.
It is
Mhm.
about how you are creating an environment of trust
Mhm.
with your ecosystem, environment of trust with your customers, environment of trust with your business partners, your vendors, your suppliers. Because one mistake can actually
Yeah.
derail the whole organization of its trajectory. Now, if you look at GDPR, for instance, right? I was reading a report that well, GDPR, it's a public information that 4% of their, if there is a GDPR violation, companies have to shell out 20 million euros or 4% of their gross business revenue, whichever is higher. Until now, almost 200 million euros worth of fine have been levied on various kinds of organizations, particularly Google. And why is it happening? If you think about it, if an organization like Google is not can fall a victim to these kinds of errors, through which GDPR, they fall under GDPR violation, you can think about smaller organizations,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I mean, not the ones which are not operating. So data privacy is going to be very critical. Data, and by extension and by definition, it involves data security. So data security is as much about your data encryption, your data masking, keeping a centralized control on your data assets. In fact, having knowledge of your data assets, which basically leads to data cataloging to systems to be put in place and so on. And data quality, of course, becomes an integral part of the whole. So it's a very huge topic.
Oh
The
yeah.
concept of data governance, the concept of data privacy and security, and what all steps organizations need to take in order to ensure that the trust and the reliability of their data is not compromised. Okay, so these are some of the key elements that I can think of in terms
Oh
of
yeah.
what is the ultimate end game that you are trying to play when we talk about data security. If you look at the cyber threats which are emerging, if you look at data frauds, cyber frauds that are happening, right, with people's passcodes and passwords being cracked, and banking systems are getting compromised.
Oh yeah.
Every day we read reports of data being pilfered from very so-called safe systems. uh, uh, these will continue to become more and more critical, and organizations need to adopt a holistic strategic approach, not a piecemeal reactive approach,
Got it.
by looking at their data assets in entirety and using the right technology tools of data discovery and data management, putting in the data governance practices in place so that the data classification and the data ownership is clear in the organization. There is a clear accountability and there is a clear ownership of the entire data asset within the organization. And it is a continuous process. It is not that today you do it, but tomorrow something else
Yeah.
comes up and you are caught unaware. So it is not a one-time effort. It is like every day you have to keep incrementally building up on these capabilities. So like all big efforts, like these
Yeah.
are these are efforts which have a long gestation period, and they start but
Oh
they
yeah.
never end.
Oh yeah. It's great
So these
learning
are some
from
of the
you,
things that I
Saurabh.
would like organizations to keep in mind.
Yeah, yeah. Since you talked about
Yeah.
cloud,
Thank you,
since you
Madan.
talked
Thank you.
about, yeah, it's pleasure learning from you because those are the strategic things, and really it's my interest area as well. But I see a lot of conversation. You talked about cloud, right? And in fact, I noticed that
Yeah.
nowadays cloud is rise for data, for data storage, machine learning, computational power. In fact, a lot of talk about the data warehousing and data lake on the cloud. So would you like to share some of the key elements for an effective enterprise cloud strategy, and especially maybe from security perspective also, because a lot of thought process going on.
Yeah, sure. So, see, I think one of the critical factors that organizations have to deal with is to think about whether cloud is right for them or not,
Hmm.
right? And what are the telltale signs where they can see it is different from cloud, like digital native companies, as I was mentioning, like Spotify, Netflix. These companies were born in the era of cloud. So for them, they did not have the what we call as the legacy overhang of
Yeah.
having a lot of investment which has already gone into building data centers and by purchasing machinery, computing
Yeah.
machinery, and so on, right? So if you are starting as an organization, I think the choice is clear, and you can directly go into cloud. But for organizations who are like, who have been working in on-prem scenarios for so long, and now they want to move to cloud, so the business case for the movement to cloud has to be very clearly articulated. And this is where I see that many of the times organizations follow a me too approach, and just because cloud is touted as something of a rage nowadays,
Mhm.
they want to move to the cloud. Now there are clear benefits. First of all, I think when you are thinking of a cloud strategy, you need to get the right skill set in place. You need to
Mhm.
get the right set of cloud engineers. You need to get the right set of cloud architects to basically help you through the transitioning process. That is very, very
Okay.
important. And
Mhm.
many organizations, they go in with a lack of clarity in terms of what are the risks that are involved in movement to cloud. Okay.
Mhm.
And that happens because there is lack of clarity in terms of the business drivers which are enabling the movement to cloud. Those business drivers, once they are articulated clearly, then it'll be easy for the organization to make the movement to cloud. That is point number one. Point number two is, so what point number one basically is to have a very clearly defined business value proposition for movement to cloud. Point number two is that you need to have the right set of skills within your organization
Mhm.
to make that movement possible. In addition to point numbers one and two, one thing that is sort of a given in this whole thing is senior management stakeholder buy-in
Mhm.
into the process.
Mhm.
It cannot be that one department thinks north, and another department thinks south, and then the synergies go waste.
Yeah.
And this happens because of many reasons. Sometimes organizations political landscape is as such, and people having different kinds of power dynamics in play. But senior this has to be a centralized effort. It cannot be like given to small
Mhm.
departments. It has to be a centralized effort driven top down by the top leadership of the organization. And you know these three things, if organizations can keep in mind when they are moving to the cloud, like any other strategic effort, because they are going to be investing a lot of money in the short term. Of course, the premise is that you will be saving a lot of money by moving to cloud, but I can assure you that you will be wasting more, if not equal, if not more money by going to cloud, if you do not keep the guardrails in mind, because it's very
Oh yeah.
easy. Cloud is an infinite resource
Oh
available
yeah.
at your hand. So it's very easy to go wrong, right? You have to, with absolute power comes a lot of responsibility and accountability.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that have a very deep think, have the correct amount of buy-in from the senior stakeholders, and then initiate the move
Oh yeah.
to cloud.
Yeah. Great. This is a good quotation. Definitely, I'm going to quote on this show. So moving forward, I mean, of course, we are running out of the time. So I'm what I have seen a very interesting your career trajectory. You started software engineer, then you moved to mainframe, then interestingly you moved into strategy, data engineering, and then now you're into product management. I big time I advocate for project managers, and I'm on a mission to help them 1 million project managers to become strategic AI/ML experts. So,
Perfect.
what's your advice to them? I mean, how can they pivot their career? How can they become, zero to hero to upskill and reskill themselves to live a better life? What's your suggestion, Saurabh?
So, Madan, we are living in a world which is continuously evolving and changing.
Mhm.
And therefore, the metaphor goes to learning as well. So, it's a world where people have to constantly learn. It's a continual process.
Mhm.
Continuous skilling and reskilling is the rule of the game now. So, for example, the technology that existed about 15 years ago, it has been replaced by technology that has come as early as the last 5 years. Okay,
Yeah.
and I can speak of data, but then the same is true for software engineering. Whether you talk about microservices, or whether you talk about distributed computing architectures, containers, cloud computing, the paradigm has changed. Okay,
Yeah.
so what is required to understand is that for people who are aiming at core technology roles, obviously they need to have the skills that are required. They need to learn, they need to get the certifications in place, and certifications can play a very critical role.
Mm.
Even I today, with 20 years of experience, I find it worthwhile my time to learn and do some certifications, because if nothing else, it helps me keep abreast of what are the technology imperatives, what are the technology changes that are currently relevant, and which we as professionals, and especially as technology professionals, should be aware of. So continuous skilling is something, continuous learning and continuous skilling, and there is no dearth of platforms these days, from Coursera
Yeah.
to edX's to simply learns of the world. The world is your oyster. You can put in as much time as you want, as you possibly can. See, for people who are starting out their careers, my focus, especially in India and in developing countries like ours, I would urge my young colleagues who are entering the workforce to have very strong foundations. If you are coming into technology, you have very strong foundations in computing, have very strong foundations in computer science. Don't take these things lightly, because when you grow into your career, later on playing catch up becomes very, very hard. So if you are serious of a career in technology, and you are starting out or in the early stages of your career, please focus on building those skills right up front. For people who are more tenured and who are looking at a pivot in their careers into the analytics and, let's say, data analytics space or data engineering space, you have to really think about where you can bring your differentiated value. Are you a person who can sit down and code? If so, then nobody is stopping you. Please go and participate in Kaggle competitions. Please go and participate in as many competitions as possible, just to get the feel of what it takes to build these systems, and then you can have a shot. But maybe be prepared to take a hit
Yeah.
on the trajectory, because you might have to start small, right? And you might have to apprentice with an architect and then learn the ropes as you go along.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things that I can say. But ultimately, Madan, it's about what you stand for as an individual,
Yeah.
where your interests lie. And for the person who understands their interest, they have every resource. 20-30 years ago, these resources were not available. When
Yeah.
I was doing engineering in Roorkee, the internet was just a fledgling thing, right? And today you can see, with internet, you have the world at your fingertips.
Oh
So
yeah.
please leverage these things. It's very exciting times, and I wish all the best. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or uh,
Yeah.
you know and we can continue the conversation there.
Yeah, great. So with that one, thanks Saurabh for joining us today and really enriching me as well as the community. So it was great. It was really great pleasure talking to you, and thanks a lot for joining once again today.
Thank you, Madan. Thank you very much.
And for the audiences, I mean, we were talking to Saurabh Dwivedy. He is ex-McKinsey. He's data engineering and analytics enthusiast. So guys, he's available on LinkedIn. Please approach him. He would be more than happy to help you. So please stay tuned for our episodes. And thank you very much for watching us. Thank you.